to me, Blazo exemplifies that. And then to even see like the lanes Blazo's opened up, having escape, being involved with putting on events, being involved with like the
joints.
exactly being involved with like the culture and hip hop and finding other ways besides just being the rapper to impact the culture and to grow the culture and taking all the stones that come with doing that, and so then I say that to say there wasn't nobody like Blazo before Blazo. And so that's a door that's knocked open. Right. The same thing for even just culturally within the city. People pay more attention to hip hop music and rap than did before.
Yeah, he definitely put the eyes on the town for sure. Because now, like, you got Jalen.
Yeah.
Jay Martinez out here hitting, and you could, I ain't saying like he copied his style or anything off Blazo, but just I can tell you just know you from the town, so he had to have seen this.
You're right.
And now that which was Blazo, now you got Jalen coming up under it. So it's like I feel like we kind of dropped the ball on Blaze.
Oh yeah, and also
we kind of didn't know what we had when he was hot. Not saying he ain't hot now, but like at the peak of is it the plug? Like the city should have got by. Like we was behind, bro. Right. But I feel like we could have did a lot more.
And I think that, and not to cut you off, but I think that, and that's sort of like this back to sort of the concept of knowing what can be done differently, and then also you can without that happening, you don't know how to push the next person. You don't know when the next person is there. Like that's that temp check where you can go back and be like, oh, these is the, that's what when you like trailblazing and you blaze the trail, you might get 20 of the steps. You may need 50 steps to get there, but nobody's going to get all the first 50 steps on the go through. Somebody going to get 10, somebody going to get 5. One person might only get 2. We might go sideways for a little bit. And then it's from learning all those steps that you can go forward, and again, one of the other things too is sometimes you can have the person that can go all the way to the 50 steps, but the ground ain't cleared out enough for them yet. So no matter how much you try to push that person to the 50th step, the ground just not clear for you to get out. And to me, one of the things that really articulate that and go to that is even just having like the hard rock here now, where that wasn't a thing when we was growing up, where it wasn't even, there was no tangible thing to look at and say, oh, if you get big enough as an artist, you open up here. You open up for a hip hop artist that comes in.
Because the city cut rap off for a long time.
Yeah, 100%. So like that's one of the things where you got the person who can make it through who can blaze the trail, but it's snow all on the ground. The terrain is covered. You got to wait 6 months for the snow to get melted off, and that's one of the things that really exists here. I think same thing back to even just recording. I remember growing up 20 years ago, being 15, 16, 17 years old. And you got to find a studio for real. Like you got to find, and even a studio is the wrong word to use. You got to find somebody who can record for real, and like the same thing. I was blessed too, where like I had a couple of homies who we grew up recording, not even just me, but like they grew up engineering, they grew up getting better mics every 6 months, 8 months, investing their money, investing their time into learning how to, record on Acid Pro, learning how to record on Pro Tools. And that really opened up something for me, where if I didn't know that person, I know plenty of people who was rapping, was just as good as me, and they never was able to even be a studio artist. They was only an artist in their mind because they don't got nowhere to record music. Exactly. They don't got nowhere to record music. And same thing with even music video. And so I say that to say, now it's multiple places where you can go and record music. There's multiple, not even just like in-home studios, but there's real studios that exist at other places. It was a time where you got to go to Neil. Like Neil was really the only person. Either you go to Neil or you go to your homie who like just starting to get, going with it, and I watched that sort of grow out. And then I'm gonna pass it back to you. But even with videography, I watched as these different videographers, got off the ground shooting music videos. And one of the ways that I really got connected with different artists in the city and learned about how many artists was really making music in the city was I started shooting music videos. And I started shooting music videos for some people who I was shooting for when they was like 14, 15, 16 years old. They 24 now, 25 now. And they done, had ebbs and flows with music, but they didn't stay with music. And one of the ways I was able to connect with them was through, shooting music videos. Right. For me, that wasn't a really deep passion, but it was a way for me to sort of stay within the culture, stay within this industry that I wanted to be in while I try to find my way, as a recording artist. And one of the things I seen quickly was man, it's a market for shooting music videos, because maybe a lot of people do have now found a way to record somewhere, but now it's no way to make a music video, and music videos is a bigger thing, you know. And so
Man, you can shoot them with your phone now.
Yeah, shoot them. Yeah, you know. But when we was growing up, you got to go get you a camera somewhere.
Man,
you
had
know,
to get a camera.
Yeah, and then you need somebody that can edit. You know, like you need the program. You know, you need the computer. You know,
man, I ain't shoot my first video till I was damn near 30 years old.
Yeah, see, that was that's a real thing. You know, so that sort of hinders your growth and hinders your process. You know, it hinders how wide your perspective of what all you need to do in the, you know, the music industry is, and what all you need, you know, to sustain a culture. And I remember watching, you know, J.O. and Pierre and Arissa, and, you know, there are certain people who, like, they've risen culturally from shooting music videos. Maybe they do a bunch of other things now within videography, but shooting music videos is one of the things that pushed them. Yeah, that got them started. Same thing where it's a lot of people who got started in photography, and like some of the, you know, they got big photography portfolios. Some of the first things I seen them do was, you know, sort of doing music videos, you know, and a lot of times it's hard to really articulate just how far the culture has gotten, even just with art, with Black art within the city, how far Black culture and hip hop. One of the reasons I call it the hip hop power rankings is because hip hop sort of engulfs so many things. That's not just rap, but, you know, the hip hop culture has really grown, you know, in the area. And I say all those different things to say, what are some of the ways that